daring women who lied their way onto sea expeditions. Drunken sailors, rusty razors, early mornings. You have to admit, life at sea is tough. For hundreds of years, the seas were rife with ships full of men battling the onslaught of the elements. Among the members of those salty crews, there were just a few notable women. You've probably heard of the tough-as-nail lasses that pulled on their pirate boots, but there were other women that sought out a seafaring life free from criminal ambitions. To be given access to the decks of massive ships, they had to make other sacrifices to pass by undetected. In 1817, Rose de Freycinet marched onto the French military vessel, the Urane. Eyes bright with visions of what she was getting herself into on a ship with a crew of swashbuckling men, as the lone woman aboard, she was prepared for some depravity. If you're thinking, wow, that's very brave, then you're right. Rose was ready to rip off the band-aid on her life as an aristocratic wife. The only catch was that a woman had no place on the deck of a ship. Not at that cultural moment, anyway. Luckily, Rose had a brilliant plan. Her husband was Captain Louis de Freycinet, the leader of the voyage, so they conspired together on how Rose would slip in amongst the crew undetected. What she needed to do was glaringly obvious. She had to pass as a man. At first, Rose had to keep a low profile, hiding out in her husband's living quarters and using the private bathroom. Meanwhile, she was bursting to discuss the things she was experiencing, so she spilled all her secrets onto the pages of her memoir. Historian and curator of seafaring texts and artifacts, Hugh Lewis Johnson, explained why journaling was so vital to people on these voyages. Useful tools for navigation, recording coastlines, keeping mind and soul occupied, overcoming fear as much as boredom. Early in the journey, Rose's disguise fell apart. Her identity was revealed to the crew, and somehow word reached the outside world. This was a major screw-up. It wasn't just frowned upon for a woman to be on a naval ship, it was illegal. Well, it was too late to undo what Rose and Louis had already done. The voyage continued with Rose free to live in her true identity, taking in the sights, sounds, and tribulations, and recording all of it in her journal. I am pale, yellowish, and have sunken eyes. In short, I look like a ghost. Beyond her physical transformation, Rose felt a deep shift in her personality. Months at sea whittled away at the light-hearted parts of herself, replacing them with hardened spirits that she detailed in her writings. Rose holds the title as the first woman to record her experience of circumnavigating the world, though the legacy of being the first woman to masquerade as a man to sail the world belongs to Jean Barrette. Though she didn't risk her secret getting out from careless journaling, a record of her presence on a 1766 French expedition came from the word of 4 of her fellow shipmates. Jean disguised her identity, binding her chest with bandages to board the ship undetected. Joining an all-male crew of salty sea dogs wasn't a decision born out of adventure-seeking. For several years, Jean served as the housekeeper to scientist Philibert Commerson. Somewhere along the line, their relationship turned romantic. Philibert was invited on the expedition for his scientific expertise and was allowed an assistant. He knew no better mind than his botanist girlfriend, Jean, who welcomed the challenge of presenting as a male in order to pursue a life of scientific fulfillment. The jig was up when the crew reached Tahiti. It hadn't gone unnoticed that the botanist was modest about revealing himself in front of the crowd, or that he treated his scientist partner with particular tenderness. Jean's posing as a male sailor was small potatoes compared to her pursuit of science. As Glynis Ridley, author of The Discovery of Jean Barrette, said, a female stowaway was a curiosity. A female botanist was a breach in the natural order of things. Over 10 years after her run on the seas ended, and her beau, Philibert Commerson, had died, Jean was recognized by the French Ministry of Science. She was the first woman to receive a government pension for contributions to science. By the early 1800s, a woman's presence on a sea voyage was less controversial. Wives of the captains, like Susan Veeder, were welcomed aboard military and merchant vessels, but they had limited responsibilities and many restrictions, basically to serve their husbands. Susan spent her days painting watercolors of the sights on board the Nauticon. However picturesque her experience seemed, it was wrought with tragedy. Her 1-year-old daughter Mary developed an illness and died on the expedition. Later in the 19th century, the age of sail petered out. Technology brought ships with both sails and steam-powered engines. It was still a long time before people began taking booze cruise yacht trips, but this is where it started. Lady Annie Brassey was on the first steam engine yacht to circumnavigate the world. A woman of higher station, Annie spent her days on the sea in relative luxury, collecting various trinkets at the ports, and regaling her family back home in descriptive letters. Aboard the Sunbeam, Annie mused about the hardships that befell them. Her letters made clear how these prickly situations affected the different social classes represented on the yacht accordingly. We can't forget money and privilege allowed her to sit in the comfort of a cabin. From their own words, we learn the reality of life on the high seas for a woman in a world where they were second-class citizens. Still, they chose to be there. They sought out to taste the spray of the salty air, no matter what danger lay ahead. Check out these other videos from Let Me Know. If you haven't made the move to subscribe to our channel, all you need to do is click on that red subscribe button. Thank you for watching.